There is a certain kind of silence that does not feel like silence. It feels normal. It feels like the background hum of life. You go to the store. You buy what is there. You cook dinner. You move on. And nothing in that routine feels like a moral choice. That is what makes this topic so hard. Not because it is confusing, but because it hides inside ordinary days. If something is clearly cruel, we feel it at once. If something is hidden behind clean labels and bright lights, we forget to ask. This is where the hook begins. The most powerful moral problems are often the ones that do not show up as problems in our daily routines. The context is that most of us grew up with a certain picture of farming. We imagine open fields. We imagine animals moving. We imagine a life with sun and air. Even if we know animals will be killed, we assume there is a line between living and suffering. We assume the life before death matters. This picture is not just nostalgia. It is a moral story we tell ourselves. It says this is natural. This is how things have always been. This is how food works. But then another picture appears. A place where animals are packed and managed like objects. A place designed for output, not for life. This shift happened gradually. It did not arrive with a loud announcement. It arrived with new systems, new buildings, new supply chains, and marketing that kept the old story intact. That leads to the first surface concept. Factory farming thrives because people do not see it. It is not only hidden behind walls. It is hidden behind language. Words like fresh, natural, wholesome. Pictures of barns and green fields. Smiling animals on packages. These cues are not neutral. They guide what we imagine. And what we imagine shapes what we tolerate. The surface solution seems simple. If people see the reality, they will reject it. There is some truth there. When most people are shown common practices, they react with discomfort. Many say it is unacceptable. But the deeper question is why the system continues anyway. This brings us to the hidden assumption. We often assume that if most people disagree with something, it will change quickly. But in complex systems, agreement is not enough. Attention matters. Incentives matter. Power matters. A large group can dislike something while still funding it without meaning to, because the system makes the alternative hard to find and the truth hard to see. This is why the silence is not just accidental. It is structural. When a topic is kept out of polite conversation, it loses momentum. When it stays out of the news, it stays out of politics. When it stays out of politics, it stays out of law. And when it stays out of law, the industry keeps doing what is efficient for itself. The pattern is not unique to this issue. It happens with many hidden harms. Pollution that is far from wealthy neighborhoods. Labor abuses that are far from the store shelf. Online harms that hide behind fun apps. In each case, the harm continues because the people who would object do not feel close enough to the reality to act together. The third insight is about scale and distance. When suffering is spread across billions of lives, it becomes hard to picture. The mind struggles with huge numbers. One story moves the heart. A billion becomes fog. This is a problem of perception. We are not designed to feel fully for vast statistics. So the system becomes even more stable. People know something is wrong but cannot hold it clearly enough to change their behavior or demand policy. At the same time, the industry is designed around efficiency. It seeks predictable output. Low cost. High volume. This is why the practices can look extreme. They are not chosen because someone hates animals. They are chosen because they reduce uncertainty and labor and space. In a system that measures success in cost per unit, life becomes a variable to minimize. That is the cold logic of a machine-like system. Yet humans created that machine. Which leads to a reframing. The core moral issue is not only cruelty. It is responsibility. Responsibility for what we support without looking. The more hidden the harm, the more important it is to build ways to see it. Not through shock alone but through clarity. Clarity changes what feels normal. And when what feels normal shifts, policy can shift too. This is why progress often comes from simple changes that sound boring. A ban. A standard. A corporate pledge. A technology that prevents a practice. These changes matter because they reduce suffering at scale without requiring every person to be perfectly consistent every day. That is a key point. Many people feel trapped by the idea that morality is only personal consumption. If you eat this, you are bad. If you buy that, you are good. That framing creates guilt and defensive arguments. It also creates exhaustion because people know they cannot be perfect. But systems change offers a different path. Instead of putting the burden only on individuals, it asks for rules that protect the vulnerable by default. It turns private discomfort into public standards. Think about seatbelts. We did not solve road safety by telling every driver to be more responsible. We changed laws in car design and expectations. Now safety is built in. The same idea can apply here. Strong standards mean fewer animals suffer regardless of who is shopping at that moment. This reframing also helps us see why conversation matters. Not shouting. Not shaming. Just conversation. Conversation is how silence breaks. Silence is the shelter that lets harmful systems stay stable. When people talk, they compare values. They discover shared disgust. They realize they are not alone. That shared realization turns into pressure. Pressure turns into policy and corporate change. Many changes in society began this way. A topic moves from private discomfort to public discussion. Then it becomes possible to regulate. Daily life offers small places to apply this. You can ask questions at restaurants. You can choose products that align with basic welfare when you can. But more importantly, you can treat this as a public issue, not a personal secret. You can mention it without drama. You can say, I learned something today and it bothered me. You can ask what standards a company follows. You can support groups that push for laws rather than relying only on shopping choices. You can vote with your voice as much as with your wallet. This matters because many moral issues are collective action problems. One person changing dinner does not change the system. Many people demanding standards does. The optional deepening here is about identity. Many of us love animals. We share homes with them. We celebrate them. We teach children to be gentle. That tenderness is real. The discomfort comes when we realize our culture separates animals into categories. Some are friends. Some are food. And inside that food category, we often refuse to see the lived reality. This refusal creates a split in the self. We say we are kind, yet we accept a system built on suffering because it is distant. Moral progress often begins when we notice a split like this and decide to close it. Not with purity. With gradual alignment. With practical steps. With standards that reduce harm. Another deepening layer is about power. Humanity is gaining more power through technology, wealth, and efficiency. Power is not moral by itself. It is simply capacity. The moral question is what we do with capacity. Will we use it to produce more with less cost even if it creates more hidden suffering? Or will we use it to design systems that protect those who cannot speak? The test of humanity is not whether we feel bad when shown a sad image. The test is whether we build structures that make cruelty unnecessary even when nobody is watching. That is the kind of moral progress that lasts. And it often begins with one act that seems small. Speaking. Saying this should not be normal. Saying we can do better. Saying silence is part of the problem. So as you think about the routines in your life and the things you rarely question and the moral stories you inherited without choosing them, ask yourself this. What would you be willing to talk about out loud even if it feels uncomfortable at first, because silence is exactly what keeps it going?